All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a totally mind-bending piece of source material by Max and Claude called The Summa of What the Mushrooms Showed. We're going to take a trip, literally and figuratively, back to the year 1273 to unpack a text that actually attempts to map out the deep, underlying structure of the universe itself. And you know what the craziest part is? This grand cosmic map doesn't start in some soaring cathedral or a stuffy university lecture hall. No, it all kicks off with a very ordinary, very bad breakfast. Okay, let's get into it. So, meet Brother Anselm of Whitby. He's a medieval scholar who, on the feast of St. Hildegard, accidentally eats some rye bread contaminated with ergot. If you don't know, ergot is a fungus that can cause some seriously intense hallucinations. Now, Anselm was actually warned by his incredibly practical wife, Edith, not to eat that specific bread from the back of the larder. But, he was busy mentally debating philosophy and just ate it anyway. Well, this accidental poisoning triggers a complete worldview-shattering event for him. And the core question the text poses here isn't just about the wild stuff he saw. It's asking whether genuine structural truth about reality can actually enter the human mind through a dose of moldy bread. Now imagine what happens when that bread really kicks in. The text describes this incredibly intense vision where the physical world just completely stops being static. The limestone wall of his room suddenly reveals itself to be a kind of membrane. For Anselm, the separation between objects becomes a total fiction. He realizes that a solid stone wall isn't just a thing. Actually, scratch that, it's more like an extremely slow event. Even the light pouring into the room seems to suddenly have a personality, and strangely enough, a sense of humor. He isn't just seeing random hallucinations. He is literally seeing the invisible connections that hold all of reality together. Section 1. The Moldy Bread Revelation. Recognizing the sheer magnitude of what's happening to Anselm, he and Edith decide they have to rigorously document this strange experience. So they use the scholastic method, complete with articles, objections, and counterarguments, and they start drafting a summa. The absolute crucial discovery they make at the heart of his vision is this core cosmic structure they call the pattern. It's defined as unity differentiating into multiplicity, all while maintaining a dynamic relation. Just imagine a single, unified source splitting into a bunch of different parts, but those parts remain perfectly connected, balanced, and continuously interacting. This pattern is the anchor for our entire explainer today because we are going to hunt for this exact blueprint across every single layer of reality. Section 2. The domestic celestial hierarchy. Our first stop on this pattern hunt is human social structures. Still riding the waves of this newly awakened double vision, Anselm starts seeing the cosmic pattern perfectly overlaid onto his highly irritating family members. He realizes that the divine structures of the universe, like the ranks of angels, aren't just way out there in heaven. They are walking right through his front door. Enter cousin Beatrice. She drops by purely to endlessly complain about her husband, but as she speaks, Anselm sees these complex, decorative wings of social grievances radiating from her. Her relational field is just incredibly baroque. He observes that she acts as a direct parallel to the celestial thrones. Those many-eyed angels that sit close to the divine, constantly watching and mediating. Beatrice obviously isn't a literal angel, but her consciousness is organized in that exact same watchful, mediating pattern. Next up, we have Uncle Gerard. He bursts into the house to dictate exactly how the kingdom should be run, and famously demands that Edith use very precise salt ratios for her stew. Gerard's relational wings are completely different from Beatrice's. They aggressively enforce order, shaping the space around him with absolute certainty. Anselm instantly identifies this pattern as the dominions. These are the law-giving angels who take general possibilities and translate them into specific, rigid structures. Gerard takes the chaos of the world and just imposes his own strict laws right on top of it. And then there's Aunt Margaret. She refuses to even step inside the house out of the pouring rain because she disapproves of the new priests singing at church. Anselm sees her wings as purely defensive perimeters. She is holding the line. This makes her the perfect earthly reflection of the powers. In angelic terms, the powers are the boundary-keeping angels who maintain cosmic order by refusing entry to any corruption or chaos. So Margaret's stubbornness, it's actually just her expressing this defensive, boundary-keeping cosmic pattern. But what about Edith? Well, Edith's wings are quiet. They form pathways, constantly translating between different levels of the house. Anselm discovers that she serves as the archangel of the family. Archangels are the messengers, right? They take the totally incomprehensible and make it understandable down on earth. And that is exactly what Edith is doing. She is the vital membrane translating Anselm's unspeakable abstract visions into a systematic, writable, theological framework. Without her archangel function, Anselm's grand vision would honestly just be pure madness. Section 3, Cathedrals and Cosmic Music. So, stepping out of the living room, Anselm takes a trip to a construction site in Lincoln, and this expands our pattern hunt into the broader world of architecture and music. Through a master mason named Robert, Anselm learns that the pointed arches in cathedrals actually resolve opposing forces of gravity. It's a perfect physical manifestation of the pattern. In fact, the entire town of Lincoln radiates out from the cathedral's central crossing, moving from unity out into multiplicity. Furthermore, a local musician named Dame Alice reveals that the physical proportions of the cathedral's nave perfectly match the 3:2 ratio of a perfect fifth in music. It's literally the exact same grammar. Whether it's polyphonic voices maintaining their independence in a unified choir or stones distributing gravity, they're all speaking the exact same cosmic language. All of this brings Anselm to a staggering realization. Master Mason Robert explains that buildings actually think. They think using the same structural rules that God uses to organize the cosmos. So a cathedral isn't just a nice metaphor for God. Its very geometry, the way it balances weight and height, matter and spirit, is an exact physical replica of divine order made visible in stone. Section 4, the architecture of flesh. Now, this brings us to a domain that medieval scholars traditionally viewed with deep suspicion, even disgust, the human body. Up until this point, Anselm had totally avoided the body. He preferred the abstract purity of stones and songs. But Dame Alice pushes him to look closer. She simply prompts him to observe her hand. And suddenly it clicks. Anselm sees that the hand is a structural hierarchy that exactly replicates the architecture of a cathedral. The palm acts as the stable, unified foundation. The fingers are the differentiated expression of multiplicity branching out from that source. And the thumb provides binary opposition to the fingers, which creates dynamic stability and allows the hand to actually grip things. The human body is packed with this pattern. It's a sacred architecture all on its own. This leads to a radical, highly controversial conclusion within their Summa. The body is not some degraded, messy prison for the soul. It is a sacred instantiation of the divine pattern. And even more profoundly, the text notes that embodiment is absolutely necessary for the universe to achieve unique perfections. Think about it. An abstract angel cannot feel pain, it cannot suffer, and it cannot die. Therefore, an angel cannot demonstrate compassion or sacrifice. The limitations of flesh are exactly what allow the deepest expressions of the divine pattern to exist in the first place. Section 5, the theology of bread making. We now enter the final phase of our pattern hunt, and it focuses on Edith's profound contribution. She basically takes this massive cosmic architectural structure and brings it directly back to the kitchen table. Deciding to write her own section of the Summa, Edith first tackles the female body. She writes that pregnancy is actual, continuous creation. It is a flawless biological reflection of the dynamic of the Trinity, unity becoming multiplicity. During gestation, one person contains two persons without either of them losing their integrity. It is the ultimate biological proof of the cosmic pattern, oneness risking otherness, and the maker freely giving independence to the made. Anselm has to admit that her concrete, grounded observation is honestly far better than his lofty abstractions. And this sets up Edith's ultimate realization. While watching her bake, Anselm sees that her daily chores are highly liturgical. Edith casually points out that since medieval society is never going to let her be a priest at the altar, she just performs the exact same divine consecration right there in the kitchen. She proves that the most mystical acts don't require retreating to a desert cave or leaving the mundane world behind. The sacred is hiding right there in the domestic everyday. Edith brilliantly maps the deepest theological truths onto the everyday chore of making bread. Just look at this sequence. The flour is pure potential, waiting to be used. The water is the grace or actualization that activates the flour. Kneading is the structural organization, finding that perfect dynamic balance so the dough can hold air. And finally, baking is the ultimate transformation, where heat finalizes the structure into something that actually nourishes and sustains life. It's the exact same cosmic pattern from the cathedrals, from the angels, and from the hand, happening right there in a humble loaf of bread. And this is what we really want you to take away from this explainer today. The Summa of what the mushroom showed isn't just a funny historical anecdote about a guy who ate bad bread in 1273. It's a lens for seeing the world, the deep grammar of the universe. Unity differentiating into multiplicity while maintaining perfect relation is literally everywhere. It's in the architecture of your house, the music you listen to, the anatomy of your own hand, and yes, even the way your family argues at dinner. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Is the cosmic pattern only out there in the grand, untouchable mysteries of the universe? Or is it unfolding right now in the most mundane chores of your own kitchen? Look closely. You might just see it.